Sport isn't just movement, it's language. The purest one we've ever created, because it doesn't need translation. A goal, a punch, a finish line, everyone understands what they mean. But if you look closer, every country speaks this language in its own accent. The same ball, the same ring, the same arena. Yet the stories inside them are completely different. Because the games we play aren't just games. They're reflections of who we are. When a country chooses its favorite sport, it doesn't happen by chance. It's shaped by its past, by the climate, by the struggles that built its people. A nation that fought to survive may find beauty in endurance. A nation that values harmony may turn combat into ceremony. A country that celebrates freedom might build its whole identity around rhythm and joy. Through sport, humanity found a mirror, one that shows not only strength, but soul. You can see discipline in a Japanese dojo, resilience in a Russian gym, freedom on a Brazilian street, and unity in a Canadian rink. Each one tells the same story differently, the story of people learning to live with struggle, to face it, not to fear it, to find meaning inside it. Because at its core, every sport is the same lesson, repeated in 1,000 languages, that progress is born from challenge, and that even in competition, what we're really chasing is connection. So today, let's listen to that language. Let's see how nations, different, distant, unique, use sport to express what words never could. Not who's the best, but who they are. America has always been a country obsessed with progress. From the frontier to the moon, the story has been the same. Move forward, build something bigger, make the impossible manageable. It's a nation raised on the belief that success can be engineered, and nowhere is that belief more visible than on its fields of play. American football looks like chaos from the stands, bodies colliding, lines collapsing, noise that never stops. But up close, it's order disguised as violence. Every motion has a purpose. Every second is calculated. The game is a machine made of human parts, each one assigned a precise function. Even the field itself, 100 yards, cut into numbered fragments, is a diagram of progress. Move the line forward, inch by inch, through pain, through pressure. That's the American dream in motion. It's not coincidence that this sport became the heartbeat of the country. Football mirrors America's deepest values: teamwork wrapped in hierarchy, creativity within structure, power restrained by rules. The quarterback, calm, analytical, a leader by intellect, not by impulse, could just as easily be a CEO or a general. Every drive feels like a small war of innovation, strategy, adaptation, risk, reward. You don't win because you're lucky. You win because you built the better plan. But America isn't only calculation. It dreams too. And that's where baseball lives. Slow, poetic, nostalgic. Where football is the architecture of control, baseball is the architecture of hope. It's the sound of a summer afternoon, the quiet hum of conversation in the bleachers, the long pause between moments. It's not about the next yard, it's about the next chance. Because baseball, more than any other American sport, forgives you. Strike out today, try again tomorrow. Every failure is followed by another pitch, another opportunity. If football is the logic of the mind, baseball is the rhythm of the heart. Both speak to what America wants to believe about itself, that you can outthink chaos, but also outdream despair. Together, they explain the country's contradictions: discipline and freedom, planning and faith, order and chaos, all living side by side. Across the ocean, in places like Brazil or England, the game that defines them, football, the world's football, moves differently. It's not measured, it's felt. It flows with rhythm instead of structure, emotion instead of engineering. Those cultures never needed to turn chaos into order. They learned to live inside it. But America, built from fragments of everywhere else, needed a system to hold itself together. Its games became a kind of language, proof that even in the most unpredictable world, control is possible. That's why American sport always feels a little mythic. Every season begins as a blank slate, a new story waiting to be written. Every loss feels like a lesson, every comeback like salvation. It's not just a competition, it's a sermon on resilience, a demonstration of faith in second chances. And when the final whistle blows, win or lose, the fans rise together. not just for the team, but for the idea that anything can be rebuilt. Football and baseball, two sides of one coin. One teaches precision, the other patience. One demands control, the other offers forgiveness. Together, they capture the American truth. That victory isn't a moment. It's a process. It's the belief that if you plan well enough, work hard enough, and never stop trying, you can turn even chaos itself into order. Because for America, sport isn't escape from life. It's the blueprint for it. In Russia, sport doesn't begin with play. It begins with endurance. This is a country where winter lasts half the year, where history has been written in sieges and marches, where every generation has learned the same silent rule: you keep going, no matter what. And from that endurance came its sports: raw, direct, honest. Boxing, wrestling, sambo, hockey, none of them were made for show. They were made to survive. In Russian boxing gyms, the air smells of sweat and metal. The walls are bare, the floors cracked, the mirrors fogged. There's no music, no celebration, only breath and rhythm. A Russian fighter trains not to become a star, but to become unbreakable. Each punch, each step, is a small act of defiance against weakness. It's not rage that drives him, it's memory. The quiet knowledge that life will test you harder than any opponent ever could. Sambo, the martial art born here, carries that same philosophy. It wasn't created for sport, but for soldiers. Every throw, every lock, every movement has purpose. No waste, no performance, just efficiency. It's not about elegance, it's about control. Sambo teaches you how to take pain, how to turn defense into offense, how to move with purpose when everything else falls apart. It's the perfect mirror of a country that's had to fight not for glory, but for survival. Even hockey, the game that gave Russia some of its proudest moments, carries that quiet fire. It's fast, brutal, beautiful in its own way, but beneath every pass and every hit, there's a deeper lesson. Hockey here isn't just about skill, it's about stamina. It's about the ability to keep skating when your lungs burn, to hold the line when the ice feels like glass under your feet. Winning isn't what matters most, it's how much you can endure before you fall. That's what separates Russian sport from many others. In America, sport often celebrates the hero, the star, the face, the individual. In Russia, victory belongs to the collective. You train for your country, your team, your people. Individual glory feels empty if it doesn't serve something larger. Even in defeat, there's pride. Not in the outcome, but in the effort. To endure together is its own kind of triumph. Travel east to Japan, and you'll find a similar devotion to discipline, but a different soul behind it. Japanese martial arts seek harmony. They're about turning conflict into balance. In Russia, there's harmony too, but it comes through resistance. In Japan, you bow to your opponent. In Russia, you brace for him. Both are expressions of respect, one through peace, the other through perseverance. Maybe that's why Russian athletes rarely smile. Their victories are quiet, their celebrations brief. Because here, success isn't meant to shine, it's meant to last. The applause fades, the medals tarnish, but the discipline remains. To win once is luck. To survive again and again, that's strength. And beneath all that toughness, there's warmth. You see it in the locker rooms, in the hugs after brutal games, in the camaraderie that only hardship can create. The same people who hit hardest also help each other back to their feet. It's the paradox of Russian sport: fierce on the outside, fiercely loyal underneath. In the end, Russia doesn't play to conquer, it plays to endure. Because for centuries, that's what life demanded. Every punch, every fall, every moment on the ice carries the same unspoken truth. Pain passes, pride stays. That's why for Russia, sport isn't escape. It's memory. A reminder of who they've always been. Strong not because they wanted to be, but because they had to be. In India, sport is not just a contest of strength. It's a dialogue with the self. It doesn't start with adrenaline or rivalry, but with silence. Every movement, every breath, every drop of sweat is part of something much older than competition. A search for balance between body, mind, and spirit. That philosophy runs through India's oldest form of athletic discipline, kushti. At dawn, before the world wakes, wrestlers walk barefoot toward circular pits filled with red earth. They bow before they enter, pressing their hands into the soil. The mud is sacred. It holds the sweat of generations, the weight of thousands of prayers whispered before combat. There are no bright lights, no crowds, no noise, just the sound of breathing, the slap of hands, and the rhythm of effort. Kushti isn't about fame, it's about cleansing. The wrestlers, called Pahlwans, live by strict codes. No alcohol, no excess, no ego. They eat simply, train daily, and sleep early. Their strength is built not through defiance, but through discipline, the slow, repetitive work of shaping the body until it reflects the stillness of the soul. They learn that control is freedom, that the body is not a tool of desire, but a vessel of focus. In India, power is not proven by how much you can dominate, but by how much you can endure without breaking harmony. The fight is not a rebellion against chaos. It's a conversation with it. That's why every match in Kushti feels different from Western combat. The faces are calm, the movements measured. There's struggle, yes, but also reverence. The opponent isn't an enemy, he's a mirror. Through him, you see your own impatience, your own fear, your own pride. That spirit runs deep in India's cultural fabric. Yoga, meditation, spirituality. They all come from the same seed, the idea that discipline is liberation. In the West, freedom is often defined as doing whatever you want. In India, freedom is doing what's right even when you don't want to. It's mastery over impulse, the art of stillness in motion. There's something similar in Japan, the same precision, the same reverence for ritual, but their focus lies in form. Japanese martial arts refine movement to perfection. Indian wrestling refines the soul through humility. The difference is subtle but profound. In Japan, harmony comes from control. In India, it comes from surrender. You can even find an echo of Russia here, though the climates and histories could not be more different. Russian athletes endure the cold and hardship of the outside world. Indian wrestlers endure the storms that live inside. Both teach patience. Both teach resilience. But where Russia meets pain with resistance, India meets it with stillness. Modern India, like everywhere else, has its stadiums and roaring crowds, cricket fields where emotion takes the stage. But deep beneath the noise, the old rhythm still beats. The slow, steady discipline of Kushti remains, a quiet reminder that strength is not a performance. It's a posture of the soul. For India, the fight has never been about conquest. It's about purification. The moment before a match, when two wrestlers bow to each other, the air feels heavy, not with rivalry, but with respect, because they both know that the real opponent lives within. And when the fight ends, and the dust settles, and the crowd, if there is one, falls silent, the wrestler presses his forehead to the earth again, the same earth that held his weight, his struggle, his sweat. Because in India, victory isn't measured by who stands taller. It's measured by how deeply you can bow. In Britain, sport has never been about chaos. It's about structure, about turning passion into ritual. The English didn't just invent games, they invented the rules that made them games. From cricket to football, from rugby to boxing, every one of them carries the same quiet message, that freedom means little without form. Football was born here, not as entertainment, but as an expression of order. The muddy fields of industrial towns became places where chaos was temporarily tamed. Men who spent their days in noise and soot came to the pitch to find something cleaner, fairness, structure, balance. It wasn't about spectacle, it was about respect. Every pass, every whistle, every pause followed an unspoken agreement. Play hard, but play fair. That's why, in England, football doesn't just belong to the players. It belongs to the crowd, to the songs, the traditions, the loyalty that stretches across generations. It's not just a sport, it's a ceremony repeated every weekend, a shared rhythm that binds the nation. The chants echo through cold air, the flags wave not for victory, but for belonging. And when the game ends, win or lose, the handshake still matters. Because in the British mind, dignity isn't about the score, It's about how you carried yourself while the game was on. You see the same spirit in boxing. The British fighter isn't a showman. He's a craftsman. No theatrics, no boasting, just precision and composure. He keeps his guard tight, his chin down, his emotions hidden. It's not because he feels less. It's because he believes that control is the highest form of strength. Every jab, every round, is a lesson in self-respect. You don't fight to destroy, you fight to endure. And when the match is over, the fighters embrace. Because for both, the contest was never about hatred. It was about honesty. That attitude toward competition, calm, deliberate, restrained, mirrors the culture itself. Britain has always trusted rules more than impulses, reason more than noise. Its greatest pride isn't in power, but in composure. Even its revolutions were written with manners, and so its sports reflect that same restraint, the belief that passion is most beautiful when it's under control. Take the same football and drop it into Brazil, and it changes completely. There, it dances. It breaks free of pattern, of discipline, of control. It becomes emotion in motion, the joy of chaos. But in England, football stays formal, like a waltz instead of a samba. Neither is better. They're just different ways of expressing love for the same game. In one country, freedom is movement. In the other, freedom is structure. Even across the Atlantic, in the United States, the difference shows. American sports worship the hero, the quarterback, the star, the individual who bends the system to his will. British sports, though, prefer the collective. The glory belongs to the team, the club, the tradition, not the man. Because in this culture, standing out too much can feel like breaking the harmony. There's a quiet nobility in that. The idea that how you win matters more than winning itself. It's why British athletes, even in defeat, often walk away with heads high and tempers calm. The pain is private. The respect is public. In Britain, sport is civilization in miniature. Proof that order can hold even when everything else feels unpredictable. It's not about spectacle or dominance or rebellion. It's about the belief that rules aren't chains. They're choreography, a way to turn conflict into grace. And maybe that's why, even now, when games have become global, the British sense of sport still feels different. It's not louder or faster or flashier. It's steadier, wiser, rooted in the old idea that fairness itself is beautiful. Because for Britain, sport has never been about escaping the world. It's been about reminding it that even chaos can be played with dignity. In Canada, sport was never just a pastime. It was survival wrapped in grace, a way to turn endless winter into something human. When the lakes froze and the days grew short, people didn't stop moving. They made a game out of endurance. And from that rhythm, hockey was born, fast, loud, and yet strangely peaceful. Hockey looks violent to outsiders. Steel blades, flying elbows, shouts echoing off the boards. But underneath the collisions, there's a quiet kind of respect. It's the most Canadian contradiction, a game that's brutal and kind at the same time. You hit hard, you fall harder, and then you help your opponent back up. The ice punishes everyone equally. That's what makes it sacred. From small frozen ponds to packed arenas, the spirit is the same. Teams gather not just to win, but to belong. The rink is a circle of understanding. You play together, you suffer together, and in that shared cold, something warm begins to grow. Every pass, every blocked shot, every bruise is a reminder. No one survives alone. There's a humility to the game that reflects the country itself. Canadians don't shout about pride, they live it quietly. Victory isn't celebrated through noise, but through effort. You don't play to be a hero. You play so your team can be proud of you. It's a culture built on contribution, not dominance. And maybe that's why hockey feels spiritual here. The way the skates carve lines into the ice, it's like writing stories that melt by morning. Every game vanishes with the thaw, yet the memory stays, like the echo of laughter in the cold. It's fragile and eternal at the same time. Compare that to Russia, another land of winter. There, the ice is harsher, the rhythm slower, the philosophy heavier. Russian hockey is about endurance, outlasting the storm. Canadian hockey is about cooperation, surviving it together. Same cold, same game, but two different hearts beating beneath the snow. Even the fights, the famous scraps that erupt mid-game, carry meaning. They're not about hatred, they're about release. In a place where people spend months surrounded by silence and ice, the fight is a heartbeat, a burst of warmth to remind everyone they're still alive. And when it's over, both players go to the penalty box, heads bowed, breathing the same cold air. Conflict without malice. That's the Canadian way. The etiquette of hockey feels almost samurai-like. Before every face-off, players tap their sticks on the ice, a gesture of readiness and respect. After every game, win or lose, they line up to shake hands. There's no arrogance, no mockery, just acknowledgement. You don't have to like your opponent, but you do have to honor him. That balance between strength and empathy defines Canada's national character. The country was built on endurance, but it survived through cooperation. It's vast, wild, often cold. Yet the people learned that the best way to face the elements was together. And hockey carries that same wisdom. Toughness without cruelty, competition without hostility. Even the sound of the game tells you something about the place. The scrape of blades, the crack of the puck, the low hum of a crowd bundled in scarves. It's not the roar of conquest, it's the rhythm of belonging. Because for Canada, hockey isn't about escape or glory, it's about connection, about finding warmth in the cold, community in isolation, meaning in motion. And when the final horn sounds, when the crowd fades and the ice begins to melt, what remains isn't the score. It's the brotherhood, the simple human truth that even in the harshest winters, we're still capable of warmth. In Japan, sport doesn't shout, it breathes. Every movement has meaning, every silence has shape. Here, competition isn't noise, it's a conversation. And nowhere is that more visible than in Japan's martial arts, where fighting becomes a way to understand peace. Judo, karate, kendo, each is a discipline built not to harm, but to perfect. They are not about domination. They are about control over one's body, one's mind, one's instincts. The opponent is never the true enemy. Chaos is. And through ritual, through precision, through endless repetition, chaos is slowly transformed into harmony. A training hall, a dojo, is not an arena. It's a temple. You take off your shoes before entering. You bow to the mat, to your teacher, to your opponent. You acknowledge that every lesson begins and ends with respect. The fight that follows isn't for victory, it's for understanding. Each throw, each strike, each fall is a question. How well can you remain calm in motion? How deeply can you trust the rhythm of control? That philosophy runs through much of Japan's culture, in the tea ceremony, in calligraphy, in architecture. It's the idea that mastery is a form of prayer. You repeat, refine, simplify, until nothing unnecessary remains. Even strength is quiet here, refined to a point of stillness. In Japan, the goal is not to overpower chaos, but to give it structure, to let it coexist with beauty. That's what makes Japanese sports so distinct. In the West, victory often looks like conquest. The louder you win, the greater the glory. In Japan, victory looks like balance. The crowd doesn't roar, it exhales. Because the purpose of the game was never to defeat someone. It was to perfect yourself in the process. Across the ocean, in Russia, you see a similar respect for discipline, but a different reason for it. Russian athletes train to endure the coldness of the world. Japanese athletes train to stay warm within it. The Russian learns to survive storms. The Japanese learns to guide them. Both embrace struggle, but one finds peace in resistance, the other in rhythm. You can feel echoes of India too, in the patience, the humility, the reverence for repetition. But where India seeks release through surrender, Japan seeks it through precision. India finds freedom in letting go. Japan finds it in control. Two sides of the same human instinct, to find stillness in the storm. Even in modern sports, baseball, figure skating, gymnastics, that same elegance endures. Japanese athletes move like they're carving silence. There's no wasted gesture, no careless show of emotion. And when they win, they bow before they celebrate. Because the moment belongs to the craft, not the self. What sets Japan apart isn't its obsession with perfection, it's its grace in pursuit of it. To train here is to fail 1,000 times and call it progress. To fall is not shame, it's ritual. Every repetition is a step closer to the ideal, even if the ideal is never reached. That humility, the acceptance that mastery has no finish line, gives Japanese sport a strange serenity. It's why even their fights feel calm, why even their triumphs feel meditative. Power without ego, movement without waste. And maybe that's the lesson Japan offers to the world, that control and freedom aren't opposites, they're partners. You don't have to crush chaos to live with it. You just have to learn its rhythm. Because for Japan, victory isn't about conquering anyone or anything. It's about harmony, the quiet balance between strength and grace, between motion and stillness, between body and soul. In Brazil, sport isn't about control. It's about release, a rhythm, a heartbeat, a collective breath that carries a whole country through its struggles. Football here isn't just played, it's lived. It spills out from the beaches, the favelas, the streets, anywhere there's space for a ball and a dream. To outsiders, it looks effortless. The flicks, the spins, the laughter, the way players move, light, unpredictable, joyful. But behind that joy lies something deeper, resilience. Because in Brazil, joy isn't the absence of pain. It's what you build from it. Football became Brazil's language of hope. Born in poverty, shaped by inequality, it offered escape, but not the kind that forgets suffering. It was escape through transformation. The kid kicking a ball on a dusty street isn't pretending the world is fair. He's creating a world where, for a moment, it could be. The game's soul here is improvisation. It has no blueprint, no strict obedience to tactics. It's art born from instinct. In every move, there's a sense of rebellion, the refusal to play life's hardships by the rules. You see it in the dribbles, the feints, the way the ball seems to flow rather than travel. It's chaos, but it's beautiful chaos, the kind that only comes from people who've learned to survive unpredictability. That's what makes Brazilian football so hypnotic. It's the sound of laughter echoing against struggle, of creativity rising from constraint. Where other nations teach their players to control the game, Brazil teaches them to feel it. There's no perfection here, only expression. The mistakes, the tricks, the risks, they're part of the dance. Compare it to England, where the same sport wears a suit and tie. There, it's about order, fairness, tradition, the belief that structure gives meaning. In Brazil, meaning comes from breaking structure, from proving that emotion can be just as disciplined, that intuition can be its own kind of intelligence. The English invented the game, the Brazilians gave it a soul. And across the ocean, in the United States, sports became systems, a way to measure, to plan, to control. In Brazil, it's the opposite. Football isn't a machine, it's a pulse. You don't strategize it, you surrender to it. It's the same idea expressed through opposite instincts. One builds rules to master chaos, the other dances with it. There's even an echo of Japan here, though the surface couldn't be more different. Japan refines movement through discipline. Brazil refines it through rhythm. Both are meditations, one in silence, the other in sound. Where the Japanese athlete bows, the Brazilian smiles. But the emotion is the same. Gratitude for the chance to move, to live, to express. That's why the Brazilian crowd doesn't watch the game. It participates in it. The fans sing, cry, laugh, sometimes all at once. The boundaries between player and spectator blur. Everyone plays, even if only in spirit. Because football here isn't about performance. It's about communion, about remembering that, for all our differences, we share the same pulse. Even defeat feels different in Brazil. It hurts deeply, yes, but it doesn't destroy. Because the joy wasn't in the victory. It was in the play itself. Losing is temporary. Beauty is eternal. And that's the lesson Brazil offers the world. That chaos can be joy, that art can rise from hardship, that movement itself can be a kind of prayer. In a world obsessed with control, Brazil reminds us that freedom isn't disorder, it's rhythm. Because for Brazilians, to play is to live. And to live, truly live, is to move with joy, even when life doesn't make it easy. In Germany, passion wears a uniform. It doesn't explode, it builds. The crowd might sing, the players might roar, but underneath it all, there's something quieter, more deliberate, the rhythm of control. To outsiders, it looks mechanical. To Germans, it's music. Football here is not chaos, it's choreography. Every pass, every movement, every decision fits into a plan larger than any one player. 11 people moving as one, not out of obedience, but out of trust. You don't improvise the system, you honor it. Because for Germany, beauty doesn't come from breaking patterns, it comes from mastering them. You can see that in how they play, efficient, focused, disciplined, yet never dull. When a German team moves up the field, it feels like watching architecture come to life. Everything has shape. Nothing is wasted. The goal isn't just to score, it's to express harmony through motion. In a country that rebuilt itself from ruins, that belief runs deep, that order can heal chaos, that precision itself can be an act of hope. That's why victory here doesn't feel like domination. It feels like completion. The satisfaction of a plan executed perfectly, of a vision realized. Every touch, every goal, every save is part of something collective, something designed. It's not cold, it's careful. It's not emotionless, it's emotion refined. Even beyond football, that philosophy echoes in everything Germany does. Engineering, design, industry, music. To create something flawless is not arrogance. It's respect. Respect for craft, for time, for the effort of those who came before. A German athlete doesn't chase glory. He fulfills it. The difference is subtle, but it defines the culture. Success here isn't conquest. It's precision. Contrast that with Brazil, where the same game is played with chaos and color. There, beauty comes from improvisation, from surrender to emotion. In Germany, it comes from control, from sculpting emotion into shape. Two nations playing the same sport, chasing the same joy, but through opposite instincts. Brazil trusts the heart. Germany trusts the system. Both are right. They just speak different dialects of the same human language. And yet, beneath Germany's structure, there's warmth too. Watch them after a goal. Arms around each other, faces lit with quiet pride. It's not the wild celebration of the South. It's something deeper. Relief, maybe. Gratitude. Because discipline doesn't erase feeling. It protects it. There's a similar reverence for perfection in Japan, but the spirit behind it differs. The Japanese perfect movement to reach balance. The Germans perfect it to reach progress. Both see mastery as a form of respect, one for nature, the other for design. And somewhere between those two philosophies lies the heart of humanity itself, the need to give chaos meaning. You can even find echoes of America here, the same strategic mind, the same love of planning. But where America celebrates individual genius, the coach, the star, the leader, Germany celebrates the system itself, the beauty of a nation where teamwork isn't a tactic, it's a value. That's what makes German sports so striking. It doesn't deny passion, it disciplines it. It channels fire into focus. It proves that emotion doesn't have to be loud to be powerful. Sometimes, the most passionate act is doing your job perfectly. Because in Germany, precision isn't the opposite of feeling. It's the form feeling takes when it's given purpose. The same passion that makes others dance makes Germans build. The same joy that drives others to improvise drives them to design. For them, sport isn't rebellion against structure. It's proof that structure, when done right, can set you free. Same fields, same goals, same finish lines. But every country plays differently, not because the games change, but because the people behind them do. The way we move tells the story of who we are. In America, they build the game like they build everything else, from blueprints and belief. Progress is their religion, and the field is their cathedral. Every inch gained is a metaphor for hope, for control, for the idea that hard work can bend even chaos into shape. In Russia, the movement is slower, heavier, more deliberate. It's not about perfection or showmanship, but endurance. Every punch, every stride, every shot carries history's weight. Strength there isn't loud. It's quiet, forged in cold air and silence. The strength to keep moving when the world stops cheering. In India, the fight turns inward. There, sport is meditation in disguise, a way to purify, not to conquer. Victory doesn't mean someone lost. It means the spirit stayed still. It's a lesson in grace, in the kind of strength that doesn't need applause to be real. In Britain, games wear suits and carry rules like old traditions. Their beauty lives in balance, in the idea that passion is most powerful when contained. Where others seek freedom through rebellion, the British find it in restraint. Fair play isn't a slogan there, it's a philosophy. In Canada, the ice teaches something else, that warmth can live inside the cold. Sport isn't about dominance, but connection. Every check, every handshake, every scar left on the ice becomes a thread that ties people together. Their victory isn't over others, but over isolation. In Japan, every movement is a lesson in humility. Strength is control, not chaos. They show that mastery isn't about reaching an end. It's about finding peace in the repetition. Even the act of bowing before a match says it all. You can fight with respect and win without pride. In Brazil, the same respect takes the shape of rhythm. There, movement is prayer, laughter, defiance. They turn the world's hardest realities into art, dancing through pain until joy feels like resistance. For them, the game is not an escape from life. It is life, raw, imperfect, alive. And in Germany, order becomes emotion. Discipline becomes poetry. They show that structure doesn't kill passion. It gives it direction. To move perfectly, to play as one, is not to erase individuality. It's to honor the system that lets everyone matter. 8 nations, 8 mirrors, each reflecting a truth the others can't see alone. Together, they form something whole, a picture of humanity that's too large for one language, one culture, one way of moving. Because in the end, sport is the same everywhere. It's the pulse beneath politics, the rhythm beneath culture. It's how we tell the world, I'm here, I'm trying, I'm alive. The rules change, the uniforms change, the accents change, but the heartbeat never does. Maybe that's why we watch, not just to see who wins, but to see ourselves, the parts of us that dream, struggle, fail, and rise again. We cheer for the heroes, yes, but what we're really cheering for is the human condition, that fragile mix of strength and vulnerability that lives inside every athlete, every fan, every soul that's ever tried. So the next time you see a game, any game, look closer. Don't just see the score, see the story, see the history, the hope, the echo of 1,000 voices from 1,000 lands, all saying the same thing in different ways. Because no matter where we're born, no matter the flag, the anthem, the rules, we all play for the same reason: to move, to endure, to connect, to feel alive.